phone, and it shut down randomly. A mild inconvenience. I don't know what's going on here, but turn it back on. All my stuff's been wiped. Checks out his iPad. Also all my stuff's been wiped. Checks out his MacBook. All my stuff's been wiped. Why? 15 minutes later, his Twitter is tweeting out all these homophobic and profane messages saying that I got the editor of Wired magazine, I hacked this guy. How did it happen? Well, Amazon used to have an interesting security feature where they could reset your password by knowing the last four of a credit card number. Funny thing is you didn't actually need to know any information to add a new credit card onto the account. So add your own credit card onto the account, all of a sudden you know the last four digits of the credit card number, and you can reset the password. Well, if you reset the password to your Amazon account, funny thing is you're able to access a lot of other information that can maybe get access to your Apple account. If you get access to your Apple account, you can lead to your Gmail account, you can lead to your Twitter account, and this concept is called own one, own all. Now, we find that companies maybe learn a little bit from the security practices of other companies, but 2 months ago, the owner of the very famous @n Twitter username, which was marketed to be worth over $50,000, had the exact same thing happen to him when a hacker hacked GoDaddy in the exact same method. Adding a credit card on, knowing the last four digits, gained access to one account that led to access to every other account. Now, come on, notes. Now, we're all gathered here today to learn and grow as a community, gathered around the significant and robust software that is WordPress. WordPress has grown from a small blogging tool to the biggest open sourced platform on the entire internet and powers as of last year, powers almost 20% of the World Wide Web. In the past 10 years, WordPress has grown to attract users that range from personal bloggers all the way to Fortune 500 companies. Unfortunately, it's also gathered the fan base of the nefarious beings known as black hat hackers. What we're going to talk about today is how we can take some basic steps to keep them out of our websites and from hurting our businesses, and some rules we can follow at the basic and the fundamental level that's going to protect us in the long run. Oh, come on. So, been hacked. Yeah, the important part, the one that actually that connects it. There we go. My name is Joseph Herbrandson, and I built my first website when I was 13 years old. And I continued to build and play online throughout high school and college until I got laid off at my first job and decided to go into business for myself, freelancing, making my own websites for clients. My first customer happened to be coming to me with this torn apart, destroyed, hacked website. Now, the original request was to take the mess and clean it up and then make a brand new type of a mess from the old mess. And I decided that probably wasn't the best way to go, so I said, you know what, we're going to go with WordPress. I'd been using it in my own projects. I knew that it worked really well. It was a streamlined, easy-to-use product. I didn't really know too much about security at the time, but we went for it. Now, what we had found is that you're not really going to stop people that easily by switching a platform. But what was nice is because of the way that WordPress is built, we were able to identify the problem right away, clean it up, and revert back to normal really easily. A month later, they were back at it again and putting up their HTML posters of scary images, preaching anarchy and mayhem, and I hacked your website. But like I said, we could spot it, we could remove it right away. But we were playing whack-a-mole. The hacker would come in through the front door, and we'd close it, and they'd come in through the back door. They'd come in through the back door, and we'd close it, and all of a sudden they'd be in through the windows in the chimney. Any route that we closed, they were coming in through something else. It wasn't until about a year ago that I came to work at a website security firm that I found I was engaging in this endless struggle due to the fact that I wasn't employing a couple of key principles. The InfoSec company I work with is Security. I'm a security analyst for them. I monitor and clean hacked websites of all platforms. Our company as a whole works to clean and remediate over 1,000 websites a week, and I myself deal with dozens of WordPress sites in that amount of time. We try to get everything back to their normal unhacked states, the way it was before there was any kind of a problem, and then we try to educate customers on what they can do to prevent it from happening to them in the future. You can find out more about Security at security.net. Not only do we do monitoring and cleanup for websites, we provide web application firewalls that keep you from getting hacked in the first place, and we also do automated backups in case of emergency. That's it for the infomercial. So let's get to some security topics. First of all, we need to talk about the no 0% threat rule. This rule states that no matter how secure you are, no matter how many steps you take to fix your security, no matter how bulletproof everything is, there's no way that you're going to possibly cover every vector that an attacker can take to affect your property. The truth is that if somebody really wants to get in, they're going to find a way. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't mitigate 99% of what's out there. You can take some simple steps and ingrain some habits in how you deal with your websites that you can prevent all but the most elaborate hacks, or what we call zero-day attacks. Now, a zero-day attack is when the day it's used is day 1 or day 0 of its existence. So for example, with WordPress, let's say a new version came out and it showcased this really cool feature. It doesn't matter what it is, but a hacker decided to analyze this feature and found an interesting vulnerability. And before anybody else found it, he used that vulnerability to hack thousands of websites. That's a zero-day attack. Nobody can actually plan for this possibility because you're at your most secure level when you update to the newest version. So who are these guys? Are they the super recluse, mega smart 12-year-olds or the underground cyber rockers of the movies? Is it the Russians or the Chinese, or how about the NSA? Well, don't worry about the NSA because they're in everything you own already. But as for the rest, it's more of an average than you probably think. The countries of origins that of attacks that we monitor come from Turkey, Syria, Russia, Brazil, China, and even the United States. The people involved are usually really smart and have backgrounds in web development, software development, programming in different languages, automating system processes to be done overnight. So the next question is why you? What does a Tunisian hacker want with your client's private school website? Why does a Brazilian or American or Russian cyber criminal want to control your personal blog or your martial arts website or your handmade jewelry store? What value is it to them to ruin your day and threaten your security? I can promise you this, it's nothing personal. All of these attacks are done by script or automation at seeking out thousands, if not millions of websites and narrowing a very large list down to a smaller list. And that smaller list is a list of sites that are going to be easier to be hacked. And guess what? Your site made it onto the short list. So now that they have you in their sites, they launch their attack by running these automated scripts and programs to check every possible entry into their big master list of sites. Eventually, most of these sites actually open up like a picked lock, and the hacker's in, free to use your website and any of the other ones that he cracked for his next purpose. Now from there, it depends on what their background and intentions are. Are they entrepreneurial and enterprising? Do they want to make a quick buck off of you? Well, they can. Pharmaceutical spam, or the lovely array of Viagra, Cialis, and Levicha ads make marketers over $2 billion every year. That's $2 billion using black hat methods to infect websites and redirect users to websites selling prescription drugs. And here's the funny thing, is the websites that are selling the prescription drugs are not actually malicious or illegal. They are legally selling drugs over the internet and paying out affiliate income. And because marketers are getting paid off of site impressions or actually just getting users to view the page, they're making a fortune in these little tiny minute commissions. And they want to get their hands onto every single user they can. So whether your site is getting 5 visitors a day or 5,000, you're being nickeled and dimed to death by Viagra. So now there's other hackers out there that aren't motivated by greed, but by religious or cultural reasons. We often call these people hacktivists, and they break in and infect you the exact same way. But instead of trying to make money off of you, they're looking to use your website to advertise their message. This is where you often go to a website and you see the symbolism or messages from Anonymous saying that they've hacked your website and they own your server. And these can be the most frustrating because not only have they come in and violated you, but now they're using your brand to advertise their cause. So this can mean peril for our business situations and our reputation, because imagine a brand new visitor is coming to your website about cupcakes and you are advertising generic brand Viagra. or you're supporting violence in the Middle East, or there's a video across the front page that's glorifying the 9/11 attacks. People are going to be dropping off your site in seconds, and they're never going to come back. And this can lead to even more problems if Google happens to scan your website during when this is going on, which is going to lead to you being blacklisted, losing your prized search engine rank, not being able to use pay-per-click advertising, join with ad groups. Everybody checks Google. And if you have a mess, now you have to ask Google to check your work before you can go back out onto the internet and play. So now that we know our enemy and what they plan to do with us, we need to prepare our defense. And before we even set foot outside of our digital doorway, we need to have some pillars in place. The first of these is backups. In the worst case scenario, there must be Plan B, and Plan B stands for backups. While devastatingly unwise, you can go onto a hacker forum and advertise your username and password and still recover from that tragedy if you have a backup. Next, we're going to discuss just how keeping up with your WordPress updates can make you much safer, where we'll follow up with password security and learn how the vast majority of hackers actually get past your point of entry. We're going to wrap up with my favorite standard procedure way to get a WordPress cleaned up after a frustrating spam attack. Now, the example I'm going to show isn't going to be very technical. It just requires that you know some basic website management skills, and it's not going to handle every kind of a situation. It's not going to fix every hack and every infection, but it'll give you an idea of how malware works, and it might give you a tactic that can save you in case you actually open up your website and see all sorts of hacker junk all over your website. Now, if there's ever a question that I just absolutely can't stand or hate to ask a customer, that I get all tense and almost start to cry before I ask, it's, do you have a backup? Because it's usually that I'm asking this after I've come to the realization that there is no way that we're going to clean up the mess that some hackers made. Now, intruders, in reality, want to be inconspicuous. They want to feed off your users and your traffic, and they don't actually want you noticing their hard work so that you go and clean it up. But occasionally you come across a hacker that's so horrible, a villain, so devious, that he just deletes everything. And now, your stuff's all gone, and my question stands. Do you have a backup? Now, if I wanted you to hate me, I'd have you visualize what it'd be like to have your life's work, a collection of writings, videos, and projects, all stored in one very convenient location, and to have them vanish in the blink of an eye by data corruption, spilled coffee, explosion, hacker apocalypse, or whatever. But I don't want you to hate me, so I'll have you imagine that you had a plan where you automatically backed up everything that you had in multiple locations, just in case. And these backups were on a schedule, either monthly, weekly, or daily. Everything that you had was updated to make sure that your latest documents were safe. So when the day comes that the terrible catastrophe claims your digital history, you're fine, because you got a backup. And in case of that explosion, hopefully some good insurance. So now the best way to implement the backup plan that you're developing is automatically. You should be able to forget about it. Confident rely on a system that's going to continuously update any kind of new changes that you make so that you're never far away from your restore point when you log on and find that everything's been destroyed. So if you have a store that's selling items that only changes once a month, you really only need to be backing up that often. If you're making changes several times a month, then it's important that you're backing up weekly. And if you're actually making enough content that you're developing content and putting out content every day, it's that much more important that you have a daily backup to make sure that your world doesn't come crumbling down a couple days later when you open up and you find that everything has been wiped from existence. Backup solutions, it's a lot to handle when you're just trying to learn about security and you already have the task of backing up everything that you own on a daily basis, everything that you've ever had created online, and now you have to have it in multiple spots and all over the place. But you think that it's not that important right now because you have everything. Everything is there right now. So let me kind of put you at ease and let you know that you don't have to worry and that there's some great options where you can actually have this taken care of for you. The first place I want you to check out is where your website lives, your hosting company. Many of your web hosts already have backup features. They have options for your websites, and before you sign up for any services, go ahead and make a call to them. They might actually already be backing up your stuff and provide a subscription for you to get that from them automatically. Just beware, there are situations where if you go to your host and you don't have a backup and there's been a big problem, they feel pretty comfortable about exploiting this from you, and you're going to see a big price tag to get all your stuff back. So be prepared. Now, as far as premium services go, there's a lot out there. One of my favorites is WordPress. I hear from WordPress users all the time that they provide great service at a great price. We also have an automated backup service at Security, equally amazing and cheap. iThemes is here. Backup Buddy is a great option, so check out Backup Buddy. Now, after you've backed everything up, we deal with the actual software that you're running. Now, have you ever gone to a website and you started to enjoy the content, you started to get blind spots, you just wanted to go straight to the articles that you wanted to read, you forgot about the ads, you forgot about the other sections of the site, and you just had a nice little blind spot? Or on your PC, you keep getting this pop-up that says, do you want to do this, yes or no, or cancel, and it doesn't really apply to you, so cancel, no, not at all, please leave me alone. I've kind of noticed that this same phenomenon applies to the WordPress update notification. Now, WordPress 3.8.1 is here now, and everybody should be running it. And if not, I highly recommend that as soon as you can, go and update. Now, you might be concerned that updating might cause some problems. It's, broken something of yours in the past, or you've had this bad experience where updating has left you with a mess that you had to clean up yourself. So you have this mentality, maybe, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, it might actually be broke. Your version number is essentially your security rating for your website. If your installation is a lower number than what's out, it means that there's some minor bugs or glitches that might be embedded in your core functionality. And the secret to hacking and breaking into these websites is to use these exploits or these bugs in creative ways to get past your defenses. This is called exploiting, and it's why many users of many different platforms get hacked every day. Because once the bug is found, it becomes common knowledge as developers work to fix it, and they launch a new version. They explain what the problem was and how they fixed it, and then update the version number. So now if you're using an old version number, not only are you not using the most secure version, but your insecurity has been published on the internet for the world to see. So anybody that might be in your neck of the woods and have the knowledge of that has direct access into your site. So there's two different types of version releases that you can do. You have your major version releases, which are your 3.6, your 3.7, your 3.8, and these give you new cool interface changes. Everything's going to look a little bit different in your back end. You might have some new cool features that you might be able to use to make your life a little bit easier. Now these are the ones that scare people a little bit, that things are different. People don't really like change, but they're still important to do because these are actually going to have a couple of minor security bug issues and things that have been fixed. But the minor releases are the ones that are really important. These are the ones that are done quickly. We need to get this vulnerability patch. We need to fix this bug. So there's no reason not to update to these. If you're on 3.7, you need to go to 3.71 right away. If you're on 3.8, you need to go to 3.81 right away. But what a great feature that was actually built into 3.7 is WordPress automatic background updating. So from this point forward, you're actually not going to have to worry about going to 3.7.1, 3.8.1, 3.9.1, and so on and so forth. WordPress is going to take care of that for you. Now for the rest of you, and I know there's a lot of you out there, because this chart here tells me that 75% of users are running 3.6 or below. Only 17% of people that have actually updated to the newest version of WordPress. And between WordPress 3.5 and 3.0, over half of users are running those insecure versions. It's suffice to say that business is booming in the malware cleanup world.
When was that chart created?
That was on WordPress.org last week. So what happens if everything breaks? Everything's fine. You can downgrade back to your old version in 5 minutes if there's actually any problems that you need to go back and fix a bug issue. And I'm going to go through that same exact process when we talk about WordPress cleanup. Just so you know, I have listed a really easy tutorial. etuts.org/manually-downgrade-WordPress is, and you can check online later for that specific link. This would be a really quick walkthrough to get your WordPress site downgraded to whatever version you need to within a couple of minutes. Now, an advanced tip, be a WordPress updater. Update as fast as you can, but use a development site. Many hosting companies are going to let you make a free subdomain, test.yoursite.com, dev.yoursite.com. Make an exact copy and update it. Feel free to make all of your experimental changes there, see what happens, and have a WordPress update strategy so that then you can implement that into your real site and feel confident that the next time you make a major version change, everything's going to be fine. Passwords and access control. Now, do you remember the last time that you changed your password, or do you remember your password? And do you remember it because you use it every day on a whole bunch of different services and platforms? And is it easy to remember because it's simple for you, because I don't know, it correlates to a particular event or a person in your life? What was that? Or yeah, or you're old. Well, if it's easy for you, it's going to be easy for a hacker. So this is what you want to remember. Password attacks are becoming state of the art. They're becoming more advanced every day. A PC that you could buy 10 years ago, the cost of that, you could build a super server in your house that's going to cut through passwords like a hot knife cuts through butter. Now, you might be smart and sophisticated, and you've learned that capitalizing the first letter and adding an exclamation mark at the end is going to save you, right? You're now impervious to password attacks. Well, here's some info to back that up. It would take 10 days, 10 full 24 hours for a bargain basement PC to go through and iterate and check every single password and crack a 10-character password that has just numbers and just letters. And a supercomputer would probably cut that time in half. Now, if you actually were to add a special character, add a capital, you're going to actually expand that time frame to 58 years. So why should we be worried? If a supercomputer can't hack you in a particular amount of time, why should you worry? Nobody's going to be spending those resources attacking just you. Well, hackers have been collaborating and coming together with massive dictionary and really advanced attacks that are going through and putting our brains on trial. Because guess what? These people are hacking LinkedIn, they're hacking Facebook, they're hacking all of these large-scale databases, and they're pulling all these passwords, and they're going through and they're learning from this information. They're putting our brains on trial. All of our passwords might be different. You might be using your mom's maiden name, and obviously this can be different from somebody else's, but they follow a really recognizable pattern. So that dumb password guessing program, it's going through and it's taking years and years to guess all these passwords. Well, the sophisticated dictionary attack is actually trying a combo of every single word in every single language and every single man, woman, and child's name and every single hobby and every slang term that's ever been used in a password that they've been stolen, and they're cross-checking that in multiple ways against all of your passwords. But you've included an extra 4 numbers at the end of yours, right? So this is going to throw that for a loop. Nobody's going to guess your number, and your number can be different from anybody else. Well, in almost every situation that a number is in a password, it's a 2 or a 4-digit version of a year. And that takes that really large infinite number of numbers that you can put in your password and narrows it down to this little tiny group of numbers that can be checked in your password. So please, stop using your birth date, stop using your anniversary date, stop using any number that starts with 19 or 20 in your password, because they're on to you. Now, some of you might be using some common sense tactics when you're making your password, and you might not be involved in the silly password making problem that we get into, but Splash Data, a security firm, released some numbers a couple months ago that found that these were the most common passwords of 2013. And we see that Password, the reigning champ of 2 years, got knocked off its pedestal by new title holder 123456. Now, what we can see from this data and looking at it from several years back is that people are not changing their habits. They're going from bad tactics to worse tactics right back to bad ones again. So what are you going to do now? We need to implement some tools or some strategy in order to take care of this. And my recommendation is to use a password manager. Now, if you're not using a password manager, you're missing out on one of the best ways to keep your secret passwords and your code safe. I use LastPass. As the name implies, it allows you to have one password, your very last password, to encrypt all of your other passwords, and you now use all those passwords across the internet on any service. Now, it makes it really easy to have different passwords in every single place that you log into. For me, I don't even know any of my passwords anymore. I only remember my LastPass. Whenever I go to make a new password or I need to change one, LastPass generates a 30-digit random character string with capitals, numbers, special characters, and then stores that in that database, and then fills those passwords in for me, negating the likelihood that there's a malicious program that's logging all my keys and monitoring everything that I do. So when you hear that LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, any of these services that you're involved in has been hacked, no need to worry that now a hacker is going to get in and wipe everything in your life clean, because all you need to do is go to that one particular website, change to a brand new password, and you're good to go. And there's several other ones out there besides LastPass. 1Password, KeePass, Dashlane, they all get really favorable reviews. I advise you to check them out, see which one has the nicest interface and kind of clicks with you. Just add a password manager to your workflow, because it's going to save you some time and it's going to increase your overall security on the internet. Yes.
You know, I use RoboForm.
Okay.
Windows, and it's because I fell into the trap of using the same sort of password on different sites.
Right.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
But I can only, you know, RoboForm gives me a chance to create these really kind of crypto passwords, but I can only use as much as the website allows.
Mm-hmm.
And I find out that a lot of times websites only accept maybe between 10 and 12, and you can't use the symbol.
Yeah, well, with that, we found like 2 years ago, the guy from Wired got hacked in the exact same way that GoDaddy got hacked a month ago. So companies are not really learning from their mistakes. They're not hashing their passwords in the background so somebody can attack a database, and all the passwords are kept in clear text. So that's a great point. We are relying on the company's security that we're using their services for, but on our end, we just need to be taking the best. We need to be making the best possible password. So if you get go to a site that says you can only use a 15-digit password, and you know what the heck is that pound symbol that you put in that password? You know, we don't want that. Then you just need to abide by whatever their rules are, capital letters, numbers, and move on from there. I mean, you need to customize your security. Yes. Well, the way that LastPass uses public key cryptography and asymmetrical encryption, which is a fancy way of saying that on their end, when you go to LastPass and you hack their database, you're going to, if they actually get into LastPass, they're going to see this gigantic blob of junk data. There's no way that they're going to actually break into that unless they have your LastPass. So all your security policies that you're implementing across all of these different platforms, you need to just take that and focus just on your LastPass. So yes, it kind of bottlenecks you, and you get one point of entry. But if you're using your same password across all these other systems, you're still at this point where it's own one, own all. So the same concept applies here. If they get into your LastPass, you're going to be in trouble. But now you only have one password to worry about. LastPass is not going to actually be able to be hacked. Like, nobody's going to download the database from LastPass and break that. The only way that somebody's actually going to get through a defense layer like this is if they actually hack you specifically and get you to give up your password to get into LastPass. Yes?
Is the LastPass stored locally in your laptop?
Yes.
Or is it from website?
Well, LastPass is stored in a very secure public key encryption database that is not, like I said, like you can download that database, but without your password, you're not going to be able to access that. So LastPass downloads that entire encrypted database to your computer where it's unlocked on your local system, which is kind of a big key about it being really secure. And all of these systems use a very similar method. So very secure methods here, great reviews, and they're touted by a lot of big-time security companies as being the best way to keep track of your passwords.
It seems like some of these have like freemium model, and you found that getting it for free is enough, or do you
Yes.
recommend upgrading to
I've seen a couple of them. Usually they have extra features that like let you have a really special, cool interface on your iPad or your iPhone. That's kind of why I tell people to go with LastPass, totally free. You're not going to have to deal with upgrades or anything like that. These other ones, like I said, great reviews, but not really for me to totally recommend. Yeah. So now, you become aware of the threat, and you've taken some action. You've backed up your files, you've updated your WordPress, and now you're keeping all your passwords really secure. But one day, you wake up and you go to your computer and you open up your website and you see this. A big, nasty warning from Google telling everybody on the internet that it'd probably be a better idea for them to light their house on fire than to go one click further onto your website. Shoot. So don't panic. You know, even if you don't have a backup, there's a good chance that you're going to get through this minimally scathed. Now, in telling you this, I'm making a basic assumption that you can work with your files over an FTP manager, or you know how to log into your hosting account and see your file manager to see all of your WordPress files as they exist, not actually logging into WordPress. The first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a backup of your WordPress version, which you can find at wordpress.org, at codex.wordpress.org/WordPress versions. If you just Google WordPress versions, you'll come across this exact site. The other thing you're going to want is a theme backup. Even if you're not making backups, it should be really easy for you to go and grab your theme from either your premium provider, the WordPress repository, or wherever that you happen to have your theme from. Sometimes people have custom themes, so make sure that if you do this and you have done some custom edits to your theme, that before you actually do any of these steps, that you've taken a backup of what actually is on there. So the hack that we're going to work with is a hack that I cleaned up a couple weeks ago. This customer came to us and said, I've been blacklisted by Google. I have no idea why. My website looks totally fine. Their website was supposed to look like whatever besides this. And Google was showing this, all of this Cialis and Viagra garbage that was spread across all the headers and all their pages. And they're, well, I don't see that. Where is that? The first thing you do is you check your site by disabling JavaScript on your browser. Going File, Edit, Preferences, whatever your browser happens to be, go into your whatever your settings or your advanced settings are, and look for a checkbox next to JavaScript. Turn that off, and now you're going to be able to view the website in a way that's not going to be able to allow JavaScript to run in the background and apply some features. What this malware is doing is it's telling the browser that if you're anybody but Google, don't show this. We don't want anybody to know what's going on. So just tell Google, because we want Google to give us all that good search engine juice and direct it over to our Viagra selling affiliate websites. So the next step we did is, like I said, to confirm, we checked over on our SiteCheck scanner at Security, which is a free tool that you can use at sitecheck.security.net. Type in any website that you want, and you'll get a free analysis of your website, of the front end, to see if there's any kind of malicious code that's coming through. It mimics the Google user agent, so that it can actually see what Google sees. So if you ever suspect that you've been infected, good place to check. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to fix this, is we're going to start removing and replacing our WordPress core files. WordPress core files are easily replaceable. WP admin and WP includes, as well as any of your loose root core files, are totally replaceable except for the WP config file. Don't ever touch that. That's what makes your website look the way it does. It gets you into your database, so there's no reason to mess with that. But you can go to the WordPress version repository, download the version of your website, and completely replace your WP admin and your WP includes directories. Just go ahead and delete them and upload the brand new ones, and all the rest of the core files you can go ahead and upload, and those will automatically replace. If you're using FTP, you would just delete and re-upload these. If you're using a file manager on your web host like GoDaddy or Bluehost or any of those, they have a file manager that you can log into and give you an interface where you can go ahead and delete these directories and re-upload the ones that you need to. And like I said, don't delete the WP config file or your WP content folder. This is where a lot of your custom configurations and a lot of your content is stored. So the next step is, after you've replaced those core files, is we're going to want to replace our theme. Themes are the most commonly attacked and hacked places. This particular person was using the GrayZ theme, so we went ahead and asked them to give us a copy of their theme. I said, "Can you please go ahead and get us your theme?" They gave us a clean copy of their theme, and we deleted this one and then replaced it with the new one, and good as new. So we checked the site with JavaScript turned off. Everything was gone. We ran it through SiteCheck. Everything was cleaned up. Mission accomplished. Spam free. So So from there, if you ever get hacked, the next thing you have to do is you need to go to Google and log into Google's Webmaster Tools, which you can Google and find out and log in through there. They have a small verification process where they'll either ask you to put a small snippet of code on your website or upload a specialized file so that they can make sure it's actually your website, and then they take about 24 hours to go through, scan, and make sure that you're back to normal. And as long as you do this really quickly, you're not going to lose any of your search engine rank. You'll bounce back within a couple of days. Any questions, please?
Good luck with the, I mean, what, you know, I've seen, you know, like you mentioned, if I'm sure there's something big that happened about 2 years ago, it's a pharma hack.
Mm.
Seems to be going across all the different WordPress websites, but it seems to be a common thing where out of nowhere stuff gets injected into the database. They're showing ads, you don't even see them.
Mm-hmm.
While other users do see them, they clean them up, and then boom, they come right back again. I mean,
Well, with reinfections, the most common reason for reinfections is either a leftover file, a backdoor file, which is why when I was showing the cleanup and I said, you know, go ahead and get rid of your WP admin and your WP includes files, those are not actually going to be displaying any kind of hacked garbage. What they do is they inject these backdoor files into there. So then they can access from one point, they are now able to, you know, there's a direct upload script to re-upload some kind of a malicious program that then they can use from their end to go in on their command line, access that program, and that program gives them all these special options that screw with your website. So when we clean up everything, when we go through and we replace all of those core files, what we're doing is we're cleaning up any other possibilities. Now you say the database, when we start seeing database injections, these are going to be a little bit more sophisticated, problematic attacks that you're going to either need to implement some strategies in cleaning up databases, which is going to be a much bigger job, or find a particular service that's going to be able to help you with that cleanup. Any other questions? Please.
There's some WordPress plugins that you want for like secure fence.
Mm-hmm.
That will
WordFence?
WordPress,
Yep.
that will, you can set it up so if someone tries to log in 3 times unsuccessfully, block that IP address for.
Yes.
Do you find those useful?
Yes, I do. The thing with plugins is that you start to get into your intermediate and your advanced type of security measures. At the basic level, we all implement WordPress into our web development careers because it's easy, it's streamlined. There's not a lot of there's not a big learning curve that we need to go through in order to you know, make a nice website for a client. When you start implementing security measures, what these look like is you open up a security plugin and it has a bunch of red stuff, and our minds think red, bad. Let's make it green. So there's buttons. You click all the buttons and it makes everything green. Now you've implemented a whole bunch of security measures that you have no idea what's going on. They've implemented all these you know, server files that they're putting in your directories. They're cutting off different features. They're blocking out some of your users, and you have no idea what happened. All you know is that plugin, that you implemented that plugin, and now your site's broken. So if you don't understand what the plugin is doing, it's not doing you a lot of good. So if you get a security plugin, and I recommend, there's a whole bunch out there, Bulletproof Security, WordPress Bulletproof Security, Better WP Security. These are some that you might want to just kind of get some background information once you have all of your fundamentals laid in place, and you can implement these and slowly implement them. Learn what they're doing. Turn on one feature at a time. Don't break your website by just all of a sudden locking everything down, because there's a kind of a fine line between security, convenience, and functionality, and you need to find that happy median. I mean, you're not some anti-hacker website, more than likely, that is out there proclaiming that we're going to, you know, end the hacker revolution all by ourselves. That website is going to get hit 1,000 times a day for running its mouth. So you are part of the automated attacks. You know, everybody wants to, they want to get as many websites as possible, and your client's website isn't really stepping on anybody's toes. It's just existing, but they still want your users. If you have the fundamentals in place, very unlikely that they're going to be able to get past your basic defenses. When you start making a lot of money, you have a lot of credit cards in your databases, you're using e-commerce to to further your business. Now you start getting a little bit more on the radar of some of these entrepreneurial hackers that might want to hack your websites and get your users money. So that's when you want to start stepping it up, adding an extra layer of defense by going with a particular security plugin and advancing yourself in that way. Please.
With the services you mentioned before, do you have any specific recommendations for, say, someone managing multiple WordPress sites and maybe like one-click upgrades or plugins, like that kind of standard?
Well, actually I was talking to an automatician last night that said WPCLI is a great tool for that. I haven't used it yet, but he tweeted it to me.
I use
it?
Managed WP.
Oh, Managed WP.
Managed WP works
Mhm.
amazingly
Yeah.
for one-click up for multiple WordPress installations, and it also helps you cleaning up like the back end, like draft
Mhm.
revision history.
Yeah.
Your tables start getting really cool. It'll help you clean that up.
Yeah, that's a great option for making sure everything is clean in your background and keeping up with your updates. I mean, if you see a yellow bar across the top of your screen that has a button that says update, feel free to click it.
Yeah.
I highly encourage you. Please update your WordPress websites. You have no idea how many people come to us with WordPress 3.5, 3.4 and say, I have no idea how I got hacked. Well, update your WordPress. And then, if you ever have a security issue, immediately change your password. There's a good chance your password's been hijacked. Same exact thing. Somebody comes back to me 2 weeks later. They're at it again. They hacked me again. Well, your password's still password123. So passwords, updates, and just in case, have a backup.
Did you say if you went beyond, once you WordPress 3.7, you don't have to update anymore? It will automatically update you?
In 99% of circumstances, as long as your host doesn't have some kind of particular measure that doesn't allow some kind of an automated update, if you're on 3.7, you're automatically going to be going to your 3.71, 3.72, 3.8.1, 3.8.2. You're still going to have to upgrade manually to 3.9 and your major releases.
Okay, so what about like I think you just put in 3.8 then? Is that going to be the same?
Right. So if you're on 3.8, you're more than likely already on 3.8.1 because WordPress automatic background updating is taking care of that for you.
Okay, and so what
But
about
check.
5
It,
years from now?
well,
So when 3.9 comes out, you're gonna have to upgrade the application.
Okay.
yeah.
I don't.
Right. No problem. No problem. If you so like he said, you will have to click the button to go to 3.9. But in assumedly, in 5 years, we'll still have this feature, and you'll be on WordPress 4.9 or 7.8, and 7.8.1 will automatically come up. I'm assuming that, but stay tuned for those kind of details.
Seems like a lot of the hacks that I've seen have come through the standard WP admin web page.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there are plugins and strategies for eliminating that altogether.
Yes.
And getting in to your admin control panel a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend?
There's a couple different products out there. There are plugins. If you just type in WP Security into your WordPress repository, you'll get a whole slew of options. I usually recommend go with research on your own and find a 5-star option. I don't like to recommend specific plugins because it gets you get into a new level of what you're managing. But there are plugins that are going to stop anybody from brute forcing your login, which is just trying to type in every single password that they can. After 5 to 10 login attempts, they're going to get blacklisted. There's products out there, there's multiple companies. Our company has one. There's multiple security companies that have these what's called web application firewalls, where they're redirecting your traffic through their server to protect your WP admin. And if you don't actually have your IP address specifically authorized, you're not even going to see the WP admin page. So I think that's about all the time I have. I think I got time for one last question.
Have you ever heard of a site being hacked to add content that nobody knows about? I do a lot of intellectual property consulting, and we're concerned about somebody adding something for prior art into a site so that it looks like it was there at a certain time. I know you can change the date of when a page was added, but have you heard of that or seen that?
That seems a little bit specific. I'm 100% sure that has happened. That's probably not going to be involved in like an automated attack. They're going to be like they're going to be singling you out and trying to get in to try to implement some kind of an old content or put together something like that. definitely possible, and keeping up with your fundamental security issues is going to deter them from getting in. If they can't guess your password in the first 5-10 times, if they get blocked out after they're trying a couple of times, if you are updated to your latest version of WordPress and no vulnerabilities exist that are known out there, it's going to be really hard for that to happen. So, yes,
Well,
it is.
clients who probably may not have security, and we're trying to figure out if it was done to their site without them knowing.
Without them, I mean, you kind of have to have some kind of monitoring or something to check in place. We're starting to. I don't want to let everybody go, but I'll talk to you, and I can go through that with you. No problem. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much. Where am I located?
Are you local?
No, I'm Southern California, but please, I'll give you my card. You can go ahead and.